No, and again, no, I don't want to be, no me quiero precipitar. I don't want to be.
Yeah, jump the gun and then switch everything and then.
Yeah, and switch everything. And I want to be more cautious and say, well, let me see how the behavior up to September. No, so these days are still in a uncertainty. And I think that now with the peak of the contagious is going to add another
Layer of,
issue in the formula.
That's right. Well, it is 2 minutes in. I know, like, we have Lisa as a participant. We're gonna get started. And like I mentioned, this session has been recorded, so we can share it out after with people. I just want to be mindful of your time and the time of the people who are watching. So thank you, everyone who's listening into this session. It is part of San Antonio Entrepreneurship Week, and it is our last session for SAEW 2020. We started this platform back in 2016 as a way to celebrate and inspire community with local stories and perspectives. So I guess this is kind of the best time to be together online because a lot of folks are outside and maybe seeking those perspectives and those local stories to inspire them to continue. And that's why we picked the theme of the year to be resilience. So I want a special thanks to our sponsors, the City of San Antonio Economic Development Department and LIFUND for supporting this effort, as well as the Trinity University and Open Security for supporting the content. Also, a special thanks to the partners this year, the Impact Guild, the Down Market, and Symbio Hush. They were great partners. They put together 2 different days throughout the week that we really enjoyed. And I want to thank all the other speakers that we have had, like Luis today, and other speakers that collaborated to building content, relatable and I think relevant content to the situation that we're living right now. So I just want to thank everybody that's here. We are taking questions through the chat, or at the end of the session you can unmute and ask the questions. We just ask that you please be courteous. The same for YouTube. You can post your questions and we'll be sharing information about how you can contact Luis and maybe some of the resources that he refers to. So with further ado, here's Luis. He's been a mentor with us through our Spanish program and doing other sessions like the Rightsizing one today. He has experience, he's a technical engineer, marketing professional. I feel like you're also like a hopeless entrepreneur. Like you look for an opportunity to start something, but you already had the vision of where you want to take it. And you've been able to grow your business with several locations in San Antonio, and you have that vision to keep growing, and with the mind of the right sizing, right? Like the new era that we live in of you can work out of any space. And that's why I think you're bringing into the community with your business, and even with your sessions and education that you try to provide as well. So I don't know if you want to get started with your presentation, I know your background is extensive, so I don't know if you have anything else you want to add. Luis?
Okay, you are looking at me, or
we're looking at you and the presentation at the same time, so you can speak and the presentations.
But you're looking my background or by the white thing, or because I want to know which camera I am on.
You are, let me see.
You look at me, or you are looking at my background?
I can't technically see you. All I can see is the slideshow Venture Point.
You might want to switch your view, Lisa. I think there's a view screen options, and I think you can pick like side by side or
where?
At the top.
Yes.
It says view options.
Okay.
Right now, I'm not seeing you. I don't know if Lisa's able to see you, but I was able to see you before. I think yours, like it shows like all black, but I can see the presentation.
All black?
Yes.
Now?
There you go. Now we can see you. Well, I can see you, and on the YouTube, it will show you yourself and
Yes, I can see.
camera.
I can see. Well, no one had their cameras on, but now that you have your camera back on, I can see you again.
Okay, now, okay. I see where is the thing of the share, but I can't see the view. Well, I mean, I can go through only with the presentation, huh?
Yeah, you can go. We can see the presentation. So
Okay. Don't worry. I take it from here. I obviously I am Luis Escobar, as Daniela has said, and my background is a little bit confused, I think, for these days, because in 1985 I graduated from electronic engineering and telecommunications. And in those days, it was like a trending, because my first business was having a retail business of computers. In those days, I was selling in a little shop, the computers, Franklin, the Ataris, and so on. So it was like a business that it was very edge of the business models, because I was selling something new. Then I opened my first business, fortunately or unfortunately, in 1985, selling these computers. So I was feeling that in those days I was entrepreneurship. So since then, unfortunately or fortunately, as I already said, I feel that I have this answer that question, because obviously I never been an employee. But anyway, that's again, I had that business for 4 years, and then I opened a direct marketing agency. For a direct marketing agency, we need to understand that is the telemarketing, direct mail, and the database in 1990. So in 1990, you can imagine that there was no cell phones, and the technology was not very open. So I had this kind of call center with the rotary phones, and 5 to 10 people making phone calls all day. That's the way I start the direct marketing agency. But again, I was like a trending and in the edge of the business models. Then I came to United States in 2004, and I invest all my money that I bring from Mexico, because I sold my agency, and I opened a real estate investment from 2004 to 2008. And I lost all the money there, because obviously I didn't know how to buy a house, or be in this industry without any knowledge, and nobody helped me and nobody advised me how to do it. So I lost everything in 2008. So since then, in 2008, I opened Venture Point. My first location I opened in 2008 up to now. So if my point with this is that I am always, I am entrepreneur, and I am always doing businesses that they are very like trending, or to be like a pioneer in those days. So it's like
and you're not afraid to risk it.
Excuse me?
And you're not afraid to risk it all.
Well, again, no, it's part that I have in my DNA, and I mean, that's the way I behave, and I like that. So that's a little bit about what I am doing. We need to talk about, and the reason I want to talk about this new right-sizing is not only for the companies that they already have some kind of real estate and office spaces. Is, I think, that is for everybody, because with this new densification, that I can say, I couldn't find another word, sending all the people to work from home, this concept, I just want to be clear, that is not new. At the end of the 90s, beginning of this century, there was a lot of people that they were sent to work from home, and they say, oh, this is nice to work from home. And a lot of people, they take advantage, obviously, that we begin to have internet. And when you have, in those days, dial-up internet connection, because the people, they can work from home. But obviously, that is not something, again, that is not new, because That's something that they call telecommuting in those days, teleworking, working from home, mobile work, whatever you can say. But at the end, this is an arrangement in which the employees do not commute by or travel. I mean, and commute or travel, we say bicycle, they take a bus, they can take a car or whatever, to a central place of work, what now they call gravity point, where the people is going to work there. So that means office buildings, office plazas, and so on. No? But at the beginning of this century, as I told you, when you came to an office or restaurant, you at the beginning you had to ask, hey, do you have internet connection? And that very, very fast, we changed the question because we assumed that everybody has internet. And now the question was, what's the password of the internet connection? So what I want to make the point is that the working from home is not new. And as a matter of fact, this is the evolution of the co-working space. Why? Because in those days, a lot of people, they were working from home, and eventually they had to go outside because they have the problems that we have in the working from home. That is obviously feeling loneliness, the decrease of the productivity, and distractions at home. When the people, they feel like that, then they begin to go outside to find the restaurant or the local coffee shop to work from there. And that's where we start doing the question, what's the password? Because they already know that they have internet. So the problem with those is that we have now an environment in which we have a lot of distractions. There is noisy, and sometimes you cannot find a table or a chair, or you find a sticky table or a chair. Usually that happens nowadays. And that's where the people, and we create this concept of the flexible office spaces that everybody knows as co-working space. So this new concept is that everybody now is very familiar because, okay, the co-working space is an open space that I can concentrate. There is peers that they have my same mindset or similar mindset that I have, because in the local coffee shop, you can have, or you can hang out with persons that maybe they are gossip or they are just chatting, flirting or whatever, but it's not exactly working. However, in a co-working space, everybody's doing the same thing, even though that they are not in the same industry that we are. So that's the evolution of how we came into the co-working. But the problem is this pandemic that we are facing now. Because it's not only the problem that all the companies are sending all the people to work from home, that now is easy because now everybody has internet, because everybody has Netflix, but everybody has Hulu. But nowadays they have, the problem that they have now is, now they need to work from there, but they don't have enough technology and they don't have enough space or whatever that they can work from home. So, and the other problem is that we, unfortunately, because this pandemic, they are forcing us to send 20 million people to the unemployment. So I see that what is going to happen eventually is that these 20 million, they are going to be rehired in the next year or so, depending on how fast we can retake everything as the normal. I don't want to call the new normal, because the new normal is a concept that is very, I understand that the point that they want to do, but historically, we have been through that. I mean, nobody remember, well, maybe, I don't know, I am very old, well, not old, 59 years old, but in my days, I used to take water from tap water, that simple, and now everybody drink water from a bottle of water that they can buy in the store. So in my days, that was like, wow, who is going to sell water? That's a stupid thing. Nowadays, everybody does that. So, and we never call it new normal. That's the truth. But anyway, the point is that with this, a lot of people that is in working from home, we need to think on these challenges that the pandemic is doing with us. and the challenges that we need to face. So that's why I think that the workplace is becoming a problem, because I have more than 300 members so far, and many of them, they have telling me, hey, Luis, I need to work here because now my wife is in home, my children are in home, and my mother-in-law is in home, so I cannot work from home when I used to do it, because early in the morning when everybody go out, I stay alone in my home and then I can work. The problem that we have now with the pandemic is that everybody is in home, so they cannot find a place inside the home for everybody. So, I mean, I know that everybody has a space in their home where you can work from there. But when you are in a family, 2 or 3 persons, there is only one place to do it, and there are not 3 places to do it. So that's one of the challenges that we are facing. So one of the things that I really think that we need to be very clear is when I read recently this book that is the Anti-Fragile, the things that gain from disorder from Nassim Nicholas Taleb, where basically the book, what it's saying is the overdependence on things you can control makes your company fragile. So if we start thinking that we cannot control what is happening with the pandemic, then our company, and when I say company, I mean my profession, my business, or what I do, is fragile. And in that book, basically, it's a very interesting book that I recommend to read. But the companies, basically, they are fragile when they are harmed by disorder. So if you are really affected for this disorder, then your company is really fragile. But then resilient is because you can withstand the disorder. But the point is that you need to be anti-fragile company or anti-fragile person, because you are going to take an advantage from this disorder. So the point is that we need to see this pandemic more like a problem. We need to see it as an advantage, and we need to move forward. One of the problems, and the reason I want to bring this point, is because you realize that when China closed in February and March, as far as I remember, we need to understand that with the globalization of the economy, and when China closed, we have to understand and recognize that we closed the biggest manufacturing country in the world. So then the globalization has problems. But not only that, the second problem is when United States decide to shut down, now we shut down the most powerful economy in the world. So yes, we have a problem because we shut down the biggest manufacturer and we closed the biggest consumer in the world. We have a problem. So we need to do something fast to retake that problem. And we don't need to be and thinking in shut it down again, because the pikes, what I think that we need to do is be responsible, and we need to follow the safety measures that we need to take. Because otherwise, not only we are going to put our leaders in a position to make the decision between lives and economy that sometimes are the same and are in the same problem. Countries like Latin America, where more than 60-70% are poor people, they cannot afford to live without working every day. So they need to go outside every day. Countries like New Zealand, that they are a small country, 5-6 million people, but very educated, they can eradicate already the coronavirus. But that's a different story. So we need to understand that we need to do it this quickly and fast. So that's why we we need to move faster. And like Gorman says in this article that I read, is can I see a future where a part of every week, certainly part of every month, a lot of our employees will be at home? Absolutely. Yes, of course. We send everybody to work from home. And this other article from Co-working Insights, they do a future work report in which probably the key findings that I see there are these: almost 80% of respondents say they are more productive when working remotely than working from home, that working from the corporation or the office. 77%, the remote work has had a positive impact in their mental health, so it's good. 71%, they use co-working prior of the pandemic, plan to return to it. They plan to return to the co-working space because they need it. And 54% of remote workers that didn't use co-working before stated that they will consider joining a co-working space as a remote work solution in the future. So what are the dimensions of the workplace that we understand and how it came? So the traditional workplace arena in San Antonio, for instance, it was very going to the, how do you say, more to the traditional way of doing it. So everybody was like here. Some of them, they were in the flexible business model, and some of them, they work from home. What is happening now is that this migration, first of all, we need to understand that the traditional business, they are sending a lot of people working from home. So that's why I have here this part where it says de-densification, because all the office spaces where they are 10 persons, now, obviously by law, they are going to be required that they have maybe 5 persons or 6 persons, not 10. So all the others, they need to work from home, remotely, in another place. So if we send them, everybody to the work from home, then we are going to have the same problem that we had in the past. Meaning there are going to be part of them that they say, I am not happy to work from home, and I want to return to the traditional business model as soon as the pandemic go over. But we are going to have another segment that they say, maybe I am happy to working from home, but definitely I need some flexible office space where I can go without my family and so on. And then we are going to have those that they say, hey, wow, this is great working from home. I am both happy. I really like it. I don't want to move over. I don't want to return to the traditional. So we are going to have that. So we are going to have 4 components. That is those that are not happy, maybe happy, very happy, and the densification of the traditional office space, because the government laws and because the companies, they cannot afford it. Right? So what is going to happen? What is going to happen is that obviously those that they are in the I am not going to be happy, I want to return to the traditional office space, they are going to be here in the traditional. They may be happy, those that they are going to use the flexible arena business model. The densification, the companies, they need it as well, because as I told you, if you have a company where in your real estate, in your office, you can accommodate 20 persons, nowadays, because the law and because it's not healthy or safe, you only can have 10 of them working in the office. So the other 10, you need to send them to some other place. And some of them, they are going to be to work from home, and some of them, they are going to prefer the flexible office space solution. So seeing this way, my goal in this speech is how is going to be your new office for the regular client, typical human being. So basically, what we are going to need is a private office. That's something that I was discussing with Daniela. The conference room, because you need a conference room where to meet with others. The virtual assistant, virtual mail services, and additional services on demand. So why you need that way? So when you need a private office space, is because you need to have a private area where you want to feel safe, where everything inside is like an extension of your home, but you don't have to deal with your wife and you want to keep a good relationship with her or with your couple or whatever. And you don't need to deal with problems with your kids and cleaning and so on. But at the same time, you want to feel safe that nobody's touching the same surfaces and the same things that you have in your desk. So that's why the private office space is going to be something that you really need. It doesn't matter if that is outside your home or in the corporation. Right? But at the same time, when you are outside, you need a conference room because you need now more the conference room than before. Why? Well, before, when you have the community where you can hang out with them in the kitchen, you can talk with them, you can have small meetings in the kitchen or in I don't know how to say pasillos, in the,
Hallways.
in aisles. ¿Cómo?
Hallways.
In hallways and so on. So those, now you cannot do it. Because first of all, we need to have in mind that the communities nowadays is not like allowed, because everybody needs to use the face mask. And the other reason is that you need to have a place where to meet them now, in a place where they feel secure and safe as well. Because it's very different that I met with my, let's say, my coworker, that is my marketing manager. I know where he is and where he has been, and I have this, we have this, how to say, bond. We can together, we can speak in the same room without face mask. But it should be in the same room. But if I go outside that room, we need to have this protection. So that's why we need to have the conference room where we can meet other people inside, and part of our office space and extension where we can meet with them. And then you need to be sure that that space is going to be safe, disinfected, that they have hand sanitizer, they have wipes, and they have this kind of safety measures that the government and these new days are required. So that's why it's very important to have the conference room. You need to have a virtual assistant, because nowadays is more complicated to handle and make meetings with others in virtual, not Zoom. Not always is Zoom. There are other platforms. But when you have these kind of virtual meetings, you need to focus on that. And I don't know you, but me, when I have these Zoom meetings, for any reason, I am tending to do not write too much as I write when I was in person. And then I cannot accumulate the same memory when I do the virtual that doing in person. So what we need is to be very, very focused on that meeting. So all the other tasks we need to delegate to other person that help us to set up the meeting and do like I don't know, please take this phone call. Meanwhile, I am in the virtual meeting, because when you are in person, another person can take a phone call, and because you are in person, they can take that phone call, or they are going to ask you for permission to take the phone call. when this is virtual, you don't know what the other person is doing. And that's the problem. So that's why we need to have some kind of help that overall they take our phone calls and help us with the messaging with our company. Then what we call the virtual mail services, that is obviously nowadays you don't need to be touching the piece of mail. Obviously the packages, you need to touch them, but the piece of mail you don't need to touch because there is another surface that you are touching and there is another point of get contagious of these kind of germs or viruses. So when you are having the virtual mail, what you are going to have is you need to receive a picture of your mail, and then you can decide if you want to open, and then the people in the office, they open the letter and they scan it to you, and that way you can see the content and you don't touch anything. You don't touch that piece of mail. The package is different story. Because you need to do it, you need to have the package in your hands for that. But definitely to open the regular mail, I think that the virtual mail service is something that you need to have nowadays. Finally, the additional service on demand that maybe help you with, making copies. I want somebody pick up a check or somebody pick up a letter, an invoice, or whatever. I can do it in the front desk, and my client, my supplier, my employee, they can go there to the office and pick it up. And that way, again, I am going to avoid to have more contact with the outside, my circle. But the most important thing is that we need to be sure that we are in a health environment. So something that we can, yes, we're looking the same window, huh? I haven't lost.
Yeah, you just clicked on the link, right?
Okay, cool. So something that we need to be sure is that we have like obviously we make the pledge with the city of San Antonio, and we are following everything that is here. We have it here. We are for instance, we have this scheduled hospital grade disinfection once a week. Obviously, we have the shared mask and so on. But this is something that everybody in our workspace, they are following, because otherwise we need to be sure that everybody is safe. It's not going to work if you don't have that and you are allowing that the people they get in. And unfortunately, as the CDC and the World Health Organization, it's amazing that we touch, I can't remember how many times a day, the face, and we are doing it unconscious. Until that they have this statistic is when we realize, hey, you are now realizing that you are touching a lot of things that can contagious what you are doing, and the workplace need to be safe, because that's the second part in your life that you are spending more time and you are dedicated more time in your life. So obviously, you remember those things, that 8 hours for sleep, 8 hours for yourself, and 8 hours for work. We understand that maybe a lot of persons, they are not working 8 hours, they are working more than that. So this kind of contacts, it's the one that we need to have. So when you have all these and you are this office space that is helping you to now you can go outside and keep doing what you were doing as fast as you can, with the confidence that you are doing something safe, and the chances to be contagious, you are minimizing them by having all these tools that we have now because the technology and because the business models are allowing to do it. So if you're in a company or you are working by yourself as an advisor, coach, or whatever, the first thing that you need to do is you need to go back again as fast as you can. We need to retake the pace that we had in February or January, and then we can help. Honestly, if we help the United States, we are going to help the world, because we need to make that this economy go back again as fast as we can, because this is the engine of the world where everybody depends on, I can say, on us, because we are that part of that engine. So now, if you have this kind of decision where you are taking care of your new office space and then your new workspace, now you need to focus more on how can I retake what I was doing with my clients. You are safe in a safe environment. Now you can talk to them, you can retake how you can help them. Because one of the things that I see in these days, and unfortunately I think that it doesn't work, is that somebody called you to tell you, hey, how can I help you? Do you need me for something? So it's very greedy to say, hey, this guy needs sales, and I know that I am in the same problem, but we need to focus on the person. So how can I help you? That's the question that I think we need to do. And really, honestly, we need to mean it. Because if we are going to chase our clients now, trying for getting the money, that is not going to work. The people now is more sensitive for that kind of things, because the pandemic is making us thinking in, hey, wow, I found a solution. Well, I found a piece in my mind when I am in home with my family. It's curious how now the people is talking more about family than before. Now they realize that they have a family. Now they realize that they feel comfortable. Some don't, because there has been a lot of news where they fight and they can stay together and so on. Yeah. Okay, what is broke is broke. It's not part of the pandemic. I mean, it was broke before. But again, the people is more sensitive to these kind of things. So we cannot go outside and ask our client for business and for the money. And so we need to be more open to say, how can I help you?
Yeah, I think like a lot of what you're saying is like the messaging needs to change as like for community sake. Like you can't go still doing the same type of sales, like 2-for-1 shoes, like that messaging needs to change as we're seeing that the economy and community is changing. We need to be kind of responsive or respondent to those problems as well, and don't think that it's business as usual. You need to consider other aspects, maybe be more patient that people are at home, or if you know that someone is new to technology or using their website to sell or whatever you need. It's just, we need to be more patient and more responsive to that.
Yeah, it's more like, again, more emotional, more personal feelings, that empathy, I can say in one word, that we are more sensitive since that point of view. And I think that once that we can feel safe and confident, then we can transmit that confidence to others, and then we can retake the pace that we used to have. We need to be very, again, we don't need to be trying to guess what's the future, the crystal ball. There is no such thing. I mean, we need to keep doing what we are doing. We have this problem, unfortunately, but we know, and I know, and I am very confident that this is temporary. I mean, we are going to face another problem. yes, of course, I recognize that, but it's not something very dramatic that we are going to face this problem and it's the end of the world. The apocalypse is, no, I don't think so. I mean, it's another problem. In this case, the problem is that everybody was affected, but
Yeah.
we need to feel confident that we are doing the right thing. And if we
Yes.
empathize with our peers and go back with our clients and we say, hey, how can I help you? And it's very different. I can tell you that I have a client that he sells, and he has a 3 persons company inside Venture Point in Medical Center. And he used to have 2 office spaces there with 3 persons, and well, they have salespeople and so on. But at the end, they use 2 offices. Now he was telling me, Luis, how can I do if my core business is to resell tickets like Ticketmaster. So you can imagine this guy when they have this kind of thing that the venues, they are closed, no more tickets for the AT&T Center, no more tickets for Alamo Dome, just for mention some in San Antonio. So his business really is about to disappear. But one of the conversations that I was involved when they are trying to figure it out in a Zoom meeting, by the way, it was how I am amazed how they get into the point that, hey, they say we are more a technology company than a resale ticket company because we create the application and the software to do that. And that's our strength. So then they came to the idea to now offer the services to create apps for other companies, and they can survive. So long story short, now they are working and they have the first client, big client, doing that. So they have problems in maybe March and April and part of May, but these days they are now retaken, they are very optimistic, and they are reinventing themselves, like I said, with the Anti-Fragile book,
Yes.
where they are taking advantage of it, and now they are reinventing themselves.
And I love that you pointed those 3 kind of stages of like those 3 type of companies, the type of company that you could be or entrepreneur that you could be. I know the theme is resilient, but there's some businesses that are being resilient, and then there's those that are what do you call it? Anti-fragile, like they completely are looking for new ways to stay in business, even if the pandemic is still, or like the you have to work from home or you have to figure out new clients. I think those people that are really looking into figuring out a new way to sell, a new way to find clients, it's just showing that it's not even pivoting, because I think at the beginning of the pandemic we were hearing a lot about you need to pivot, but I think more than pivoting is innovating. People are not just pivoting or coming out with new ways to getting more and more clients. Are you able to hear me right? Because I think we were having trouble with my mic yesterday.
I barely hear.
Can you hear me right?
No, I barely hear.
Is this better?
Yeah.
Okay. I think the audio was going through the TV. Is this better?
For me, yes.
Okay, yeah. So no, I was just saying, I think like a lot at the beginning of the pandemic, a lot of people were saying pivoting as part of business strategy, but I think it's less about pivoting and more about those small business owners that are innovating, like the one that are opposing out of Venture Point, that are finding new ways of staying in business and being anti-fragile and not only resilient. So I think this is important to talk about, okay, what other strengths can you find within your company if you've seen that the market that you had is completely shut down or is not going to come back ever if this continues, right? like ticket sales, like events. If you're an artist and you're dependent, or people that sell on farmers market or in fairs, they need to find a new outlet to selling either online or just another way, because it's not about just staying in business, but it's about finding a way to grow and like you say, pick it up, not just stay the same.
Yeah, at the end, what really personally, what I am really focused is trying to push people to forget about stay in the situation that I need to wait until this go over. We need to make it over. We cannot wait. We need to put, how to say, hands on, and we need to start doing something immediately. I mean, right now, what I can do for my clients tomorrow, it doesn't matter that you can change, reinvent your business. At the end, we need to understand that the business, they are just a piece of paper that we file in the Secretary of State of Texas. The business are the persons. And that's why sometimes we need to be very compassionate. And that's why I use the word empathy, because we need to understand that there is a person behind that. And as we were empathy with this company, with Aaron, and we helped them during those 3 months without charging the rent of the office, because we know that they were hurt. And we use the empathy with them because we understand that they were going to fail. I mean, if they don't, so that's why they begin to invite me to these conversations. And I mean, I don't want to say that I helped them. I just was in that meeting, Zoom meeting, where everybody speak and they share ideas, and I give my point of views and so on. And suddenly in that conversation, they came to this idea, and I can tell you that nowadays they have one big client that is keeping all of them busy again, and they are going to go back to pay the rent in July, for instance. So yes, I think that we can do it, and that's why I think that this book, The Anti-Fragile, it makes a lot of sense nowadays, because yes, of course, I think that at the end, when you read the book, you are going to see that it's not talking about the company per se, it's talking to the leader. It's talking to the responsible of making the decisions, because if the leader feel that they are lost, then the whole company is lost. So it's now the responsible of the leader to convert them and recognize them as an anti-fragile company, meaning I don't depend of this pandemic. And I need to be responsible, and I have suppliers, and I have a staff member, and I have team members that I need to be responsible with. So when the problem that when we say where I am going to work, I cannot work from home, then we have an option. And then we can keep working in a safe environment, and then we can go outside and keep doing what we were doing. And we need to do it. My point is that we need to do it fast, because this economy is, I mean, I am very, very sorry to see 20 million people unemployed. Because the problem that we have is not that we have 20 million people in 10 years. The problem is that it was 20 million people in 2-3 months. So that's, and honestly, in the economy, you haven't feel that maybe until maybe next month or September, where we are going to see the damage of those 20 million. You can see JCPenney, that they already closed 100, and I can't remember how many stores they are going to close.
Yeah, there's a number of companies that are like Neiman Marcus. What was the other one? I was reading an article just like yesterday about how many companies are doing this, and that's it. That it's not only a business that this happened to. It's like everyone at the same time.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I think like for people like yourself that have gone through failures where you have lost it all and come back with another business, or even just stayed with the same business and come out of it stronger, it's not the end of the world. But for some people that may be experiencing for the first time, it sounds like it's the most difficult time, and the opportunities are scarce just because it's happening to everyone. So I think that being empathetic and feeling that not because you figured out how to come out stronger, you need to also help others, because we need each other to stay in business, right? It's not like for you, you need your members to be in business, for you to be in business, and likewise, right? So
yeah, I mean, one of the biggest problems is when somebody closed, we can see it as the same way we see the deaf people in the pandemic. We cannot see them as another number, because, for instance, if JCPenney closed 100 stores, you can imagine that that means that 100 malls, shopping malls, they are going to struggle, because all the companies, all the other retailers in that mall, they are going to lose traffic, because JCPenney attracts a lot of traffic to any mall. And now those retailers, they are not going to have that traffic, and they are going to be hurt. So it's not a matter just that say, well, that's another company that is going to close. No. It has a lot of consequences that everybody, some way or another, we are going to be affected by those. Because if they close, for instance, the one in La Cantera, we are going to see a problem with all those retailers that are in La Cantera, that they are not going to have the same traffic. So they are going to be hurt. So, and it's the same thing that when we talk about the deaf people with the pandemic. Yeah, we lost 100. Well, but remember that there's one of them should be a mother, and the children, they lost a mother. Or one of them could be the son of a parent. So what are we going to tell them, to those parents? So can you imagine the pain that they feel? So that's my point. So yes, I know that we cannot save the world, but we need to put our granito de arena, our little piece, to make this machinery work again. And that's why I think that we as Venture Point, we need, first of all, we need to be an example. And that's why when they say we need to do the pledge, we were one of the first that we do the pledge. We were one of the first to establish this health policy. Because we are really concerned about our clients. We don't want somebody is get infected with this virus, but at the same time, we know that a lot of them, they count on us, and they count to. I don't want to go to the office because send me the mail. So we take pictures to all the mail, and they don't need to come to the office again. And we are doing more things. We now deposit checks. When somebody receives a check, they just let us know which bank and bank account, and we go to the bank and we deposit it for them. Because we know that that's the way we can help. And that is taking us to another different businesses. And we are opening to be, again, an anti-fragile company more than a fragile or resilient company. So I don't know if you have more, if somebody has questions.
I don't see any questions. I'm curious, like for demographics sake, have you seen any? I'm curious to see if you have your demographics of who's booking the offices has changed since this.
Yes, well, it has changed since the point of view that we have more. As I told you, in the 3 months where the pandemic was, we sell more than 12 private office spaces. All of them, they are what I consider SOHOs, small office, home office. People that they used to work from home and they have their own private office in home. But again, because a lot of them, they come from Stone Oak area. That's the the area where we have more of them. Second is the high point, closed in 1604 and Babcock, because the health industry is growing. And in those 11 suites that I have there, I can tell you that 8 of them came from the health industry in the last 3 months, because they are growing. A billing company that they need more space, a doctor that is going for vitamins and so on, advisory things. So they need to grow, and they are using our suites to do it. Because again, they cannot accommodate 2 or 3 persons in one small suite. Now they are accommodating 1 person in each suite, unfortunately, man. But anyway, I mean, they are doing that. So again, no, my point is that they are just, of course, they are like a Sohos, a small office, home office, that they want to have their own safe place where to work.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna see that, like when you were going over the evolution of what has happened, like for people who are working from home, they went to co-working, and now private offices. I think also seeing that some offices cannot hold all of their employees because of the mandate. Maybe they're going to look to rent out, like maybe not make them work from home, because that might not be something that they're able to do, but tell them like, hey, we're looking at a secondary space where you can go and have a private office or rotate employees in that private office, right?
Yeah, and I have one client, for instance, they that is not taking a private office space, but he has these 2 big file cabinets, and she said, Luis, I am going to pay you, but let me store this here, because I cannot do it in my home. I mean, my wife is working there, and I need to work at the same time, but we cannot share the same small space that we have in home. So we accommodate them in one of our locations, the 2 file cabinets, and they can have access to them. And obviously they can use the co-working area, the open area, and the conference rooms as well. But yes, I mean, I see this trend, and I think that we are, as Venture Point, we are trying to put our little help for the community, that I would like to see them again. I mean, I miss to go out, hang out, meet persons, and say, well, how can I help you? I mean, and that was very, very different than the way that we can do it in these days. So I think that we are going to go over this, and very, very soon. The economic damage maybe is going to last more, but the going to work, I would like to do it very, very fast, because that's the way we can do it. But obviously we need to be very conscious and very follow the rules. And if they say use face mask, we need to do it. I can use a very example with something that maybe you don't know, that is the AIDS. The AIDS still is very contagious. I mean, I was reading in CDC that last year they have 3 million or 4 million people contagious last year. So it's still a problem. The difference is that the way we avoid the contagious is very simple, and it's using the preservative. But the contagious in these days, and those people that is being conscious to do it and use it, they are eradicated. The contagious right now is only with the person that they don't take care of themselves. Basically, the people that share the nails, is that las agujas? Needles to do the drug things, and the prostitution. Those are the 2 sectors that apport the more contagious of AIDS, because they don't take care of themselves. The people that they used to take care of themselves, they are not anymore contagious. But if you are inside these 2 groups, the probabilities and the chances that you get AIDS is very high, because they don't took the measurement. So my point is that if we compare that with today, We need to follow the same rules. So it's not the responsibility of the other to do it. It's my responsibility to take care of myself. Nowadays, everybody uses the safety belt in the car. What happened with the safety belt at the car at the beginning? If you read the history, you are going to see that in the 70s it was optional, the seat belt, and nowadays is mandatory. My point is we need to jump that curve and go fast to the mandatory period. We don't need to go. We don't need to do the same way, and with that, we are going to avoid to have this spike that we have yesterday, 3,000, more than 3,000 in Texas. I mean, it's amazing that during the worst part, we never have it. And now in one day, 3,000. Oh, wow, that's a problem. So what else?
I don't know if there's any more questions. Let me see. I don't see any questions here or in our YouTube stream. I think I saw something coming in. I don't know if there's anything you would like to add, Luis. I know this presentation you usually do just about right sizing in a general form, and it was adapted to kind of showcase the current situation and a little bit of resilient about all these measures that you mentioned, all these measures that you're taking, being empathetic and figuring out new ways of staying in business are something that everyone should do out there, or everyone that listens to this conversation needs to consider to stay in business. So I don't know if there's anything you would like to add. I know we have a lot of time, so if you have anything you would like to add.
No, I'm okay. I just want to be sure that they they understand the message, and I think that we are going to be over, huh?
Yes, we all hope that this, but I think all that you shared about what you're doing, like I said, and what measures business can take to stay in business and being empathetic really helps put perspective into what you're doing and what other people can do. So I thank you for that.
Cool. So if you don't have any more questions?
I think that's all, Luis. I appreciate you taking the time to being with us. I know you're probably busy and have to jump around from one space to the other. Like you said, you're doing it less right now, but I appreciate you taking the time and appreciate everyone that was listening in. We did drop in a survey. So if you want to provide us with your feedback about the week and this session, it's really helpful for next year and to build more content. So
yeah, anytime that I can help, I will be very, very happy.
Oh yeah, Luis, how can we reach you? Like, how can people that are listening in, how can people contact you? They have questions or would like to.
Yes, you're right. I am going to write it in the chat. They can reach me obviously in our website that is venturepointsa.com, and then in my email that is lescobar at venturepoint.us. I send it in the chat. Okay? Okay, so Daniela, is that it? Creo que sí.